The new iPad Pro has landed, supercharged by the Apple M2 chip. Today we're going to see how 20 games perform on this new graphics chip. Pause the video now for the specs of my M2 iPad Pro. Until we get No Man's Sky on iPad Pro, Divinity Original Sin 2 by Elvarels is the most demanding AAA title to showcase the power of M2. The game supports Metal 2.3, supports FXAA, receives up to 60 FPS, plays at ultra graphics by default on M1 and M2 iPad Pros, and is targeting a resolution of 1920 by 1342 on 11-inch iPad Pros and 1920 by 1400 on 12.9-inch iPad Pros. The iPad version of Divinity Original Sin 2 was one of the first games to feature full mouse and keyboard support on iPad and support for next-gen controllers with rumble vibration too. It's worth noting the M1 iPad Pro didn't receive a locked 60 FPS, and this new iPad Pro doesn't either. But it's definitely a little better here. On M1, it would stick around 50 FPS more frequently, now it's up to 60 on M2. Elvarels will obviously look into the M2 port and see if they can improve the frame rate. Alien Isolation may be a relatively old game now, but I'd say this worked in Feral Interactive's favour for porting a huge AAA game to mobile. Alien Isolation's art design remains fantastic, and the heavy use of specific post-processing effects in gameplay really propelled the tone Isolation was going for: hardcore survival horror. The mobile port supports Metal 2.3, contrast adaptive sharpening, has full mouse and keyboard support and controller rumble vibration, and new on mobile it features a few graphics modes. First is Graphics. Graphics plays the game at the highest resolution and advanced graphical effects with 30 FPS. Apple Silicon equipped iPads are the only devices which support 40 FPS in this mode. On the other hand, Performance runs the game at slightly lower settings to reach 60 FPS. It's not a locked 60 FPS, it will drop during some challenging scenes, such as explosions or fire or engaging with the Xenomorph. It's going to be a few more months until COD Warzone Mobile arrives on the App Store. However, Apex Legends Mobile is another good alternative. Many might consider it as one of the best Battle Royale experiences out there, especially on mobile right now. The game has somewhat downgraded graphics, and unlike the PC and console version, which runs on a heavily modified version of Source Engine, Apex Legends Mobile runs through Unreal Engine 4. This allows for it to get excellent performance on every device it runs on. You can easily play the game at extreme HD graphics quality with all advanced options enabled and still received a locked 60 FPS. It's really strange that there is no extreme frame rate toggle for 80 FPS on iPad Pro, like you'd find on iPhone 13 and iPhone 14 Pro. Surely, this device's thermal conditions can handle 80 FPS, heck, even 120 FPS. Tower of Fantasy is a new 2022 gacha game, with gameplay mixing Genshin Impact and an art style quite similar to the Borderlands series. I may be way off there, mind you. Similar to other free gacha games, it offers quite high-end graphics, but this comes at a sacrifice, as playing the game at extreme graphics quality sees some big FPS drops during combat scenes. Changing the settings down to high definitely helps, but you'll still notice some issues during challenging scenes. In this instance, it's advised that you play at medium settings with either 60 or 30 FPS enabled for the best performance for long play sessions. You can also play this game at up to 120 FPS. I have to use off-screen footage for games that support over 60 FPS, but PerfDog does seem accurate. This is quite a huge game, so it's best that you play at medium settings if you want to get 120 FPS consistently. Next up is Grid Autosport, still the best racer on the App Store until Well, maybe until Wreckfest comes out in a few days. The game contains a few graphics modes. First is Graphics. Graphics plays the game at the highest resolution and advanced graphical effects with 40 FPS. Apple Silicon equipped iPads are the only devices which support 40 FPS in this mode, which is kind of cool. Next is Performance. Performance runs the game at slightly lower settings to reach 60 FPS. It's a completely locked 60 FPS. This is also achievable on the M1 iPad Pro, so it's nothing to be impressed by really. Last is Performance Plus. Performance Plus runs the game at even lower video quality settings to reach 120 FPS. It's awesome, and a really good game to experience this high frame rate or ProMotion, as it's a consistent experience here. Impressive, even for an old AAA game from 2014. The game also now features next-gen controller support and rumble vibration 2 with controllers. Aerofly FS 2022 might not be for everyone, as it's a flight simulator, but it's an interesting port as it runs on Molten VK. Molten VK allows you to use Vulkan graphics and compute functionality to run on top of the Metal API. In this case, Aerofly FS 2022 should be using Metal 2.2. Molten VK has allowed for the developer iPads to support native resolution on 11-inch and 12.9-inch iPad Pros with a locked 60 FPS. Not bad, as you'll be going out on very long flights here. I'm so bad at this game. Like, I tried to land the thing, the plane, I couldn't. XCOM 2 is a current-ish generation AAA game in terms of its size and demanding performance. In fact, I'd say this might be Feral Interactive's most demanding mobile game? The iOS port uses the same engine as the original desktop release, Unreal Engine. Unreal is usually preferred for porting complex games to mobile. Just like Alien Isolation, it has full mouse and keyboard support, and it contains a few graphic modes. First is Performance. Performance runs the game at slightly lower settings to reach a higher FPS. Unfortunately, on all devices that support Performance mode, it only provides up to 40 FPS. I would love to see in the future maybe a Performance Plus mode for 60 FPS. Graphics plays the game at the highest resolution and advanced graphical effects, but caps the FPS to 30. The frame pacing is pretty good here, but sometimes it can have issues. Regardless, graphics is definitely the way you must play the game, because it looks freaking awesome. Many like to use COD Mobile as an example of high-end graphics on mobile. I find this a little laughable as it looks like an early PS3 game. Anyway, this one is powered by the Unity engine and runs on the original version of the Metal framework. This has been done, I believe, to allow the game to support really old iPhone and iPad. The downside is that it doesn't support more advanced graphical features in new iPadOS or iOS operating systems. I want to make it evident though that I actually really like this game. It's a very fun version of the multiplayer side of Call of Duty. I'm just trying to make out that visually it could be much better. Anyway, in the multiplayer mode, you can run at very high graphics with a locked 60 FPS. Most iPhone and iPads receive a locked 60 FPS, so this isn't that impressive. In Zombies and Battle Royale, to get 60 FPS, you have to put the FPS target to max and graphics quality to high to receive 60 FPS. If you want to play the game at a 120 FPS, this is possible, however only in the multiplayer mode, and you'll be forced to play at medium settings, which is weird. Unlike iPhone 13 and 14 Pro, there are no massive FPS drops to 60, thanks to improved thermal conditions. Handy Games told me SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom on iPhone and iPad is, on most devices, running at native resolution, which it is here. The mobile version of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom is the only platform that supports custom graphics for this game. On M2 iPad Pro, you can easily play at epic quality with around 60 FPS. The game supports Unreal Engine 4, so this could be another good reason for its excellent performance. Descenders runs at 30 FPS and a low graphics quality on every iPhone and iPad that it supports. M2 iPads are targeting a resolution of 1809 by 1263 on 11-inch iPad Pros and 2069 by 1551 on 12.9-inch iPad Pros. Despite the fact that this game is running at a lower resolution and graphics quality, it's still one of my favourite App Store releases of 2022. It's the full downhill bike game with all the same content and multiplayer and even controller rumble support. That being said, I hope Noodlecake improve the visual quality here, or maybe add some custom graphic options in a future update. That would be cool. Back in 2019, Sky Children of the Light was one of the best looking mobile games I had seen. It was a good example of how the Fire engine from Sony can provide a higher-end game while still not being overly demanding for mobile devices. It also means that Sky can scale well on Pro hardware. For example, the game runs at native resolution on iPad Pros and receives a locked 60 FPS in the high performance mode. NBA 2K23 Arcade Edition offers the best and most realistic graphics on Apple Arcade. It uses a custom version of the Echo Motion engine on Apple Arcade to ensure the best graphics possible on every device. On M1 and M2 iPad Pros, you can play at ultra high graphics and get 60 FPS. On iPhone and iPad, the FPS drops to 30 during cinematic shots for some weird reason, but it doesn't break gameplay immersion. Here we have Dead Cells. You guys always love to see this game, and I can see why. It's an excellent action platformer. I'm terrible at it though, but I love it. Anyway, PlayDigits told me on iPad Dead Cells runs at 1080p resolution, but for devices with bigger formats, the game is then upscaled to fit the screen size. Dead Cells also supports 120 FPS on iPad Pro if you change the FPS cap in video settings to none. Let me be the first to say, it's so freaking awesome at this frame rate. Give it a go. I'm hoping in the future a higher resolution can be supported up to 2K on the M2 iPad Pro. Heck, even the M1 iPad Pro. Heck, all iPhone and iPads. Playing Total War Medieval 2 on iPad is cool, as it can basically be a desktop experience thanks to full mouse and keyboard support. Unlike Feral Interactive's other mobile ports, this one doesn't feature any major custom graphic modes. Instead, by default, it's already running at the highest settings with up to 60 FPS. It may be an old game, but it can be quite demanding with the large-scale battles. Sometimes when I zoom out of the map, you'll notice some small dips in performance. I'm sure many of you want to see Minecraft. M1 and M2 equipped iPads have support for a render distance of 22 chunks. For comparison, the iPhone 14 Pro has up to 17 chunks. We can play at max settings with 22 chunks, and it's an almost locked 60 FPS. There will be some dips, especially when you are, hovering around the world. There is also a new toggle for an unlimited FPS, so in this instance up to 120. But wait, based on my testing, it actually is not working on the M2 iPad Pro yet. It's still capped at 60, so maybe that will be fixed in the future. Minecraft was also recently updated with mouse and keyboard support on iPad, which is gosh dang diddly dong dong fantastic. Now for the game everyone always wants to see, Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact appears to be running on the original version of the Metal framework, which could be a result of its mixed performance on iPhone and iPad. Anyway, the game was recently updated to support 1600p resolution on the new iPad Air and iPad Pro. At highest graphics with 60 FPS enabled, you will see some dips during challenging scenes, engaging with foes or big explosions. It's not that bad though. For the best performance, you still want to play at medium settings to have 60 FPS more frequently. It's worth noting the 120 FPS mode isn't here as of the 13th of November.
I'll race you there.
All iOS versions of What Remains of Edith Finch were developed with a customized version of Unreal Engine 4 with support for the Metal Framework version 2.1. Here, the game is running close to max settings. Text is easy to read and textures are crisp. Ooh, lovely. On 11-inch iPad Pros, the game runs at a resolution of 1792 by 1252, and on 12.9-inch iPad Pros, the game runs at a resolution of 2050 by 1536. What Remains of Edith Finch on iOS is said to use a few different rendering resolutions internally in order to composite various effects, the in-world text and UI, as well as dynamic resolution for the G-buffer to accommodate more performance-intensive areas and devices' thermal and battery conditions. That's what Giant Sparrow told me anyway. The Gardens Between was recently updated for M1 iPad Pros to support their native resolutions and a more stable 60 FPS. It's the same story here on M2, and it's still running at max graphical settings. You have reflections, distortion effects, depth textures, stencil rendering, and all of the post effects. It's also one of the only games I know of on the App Store with adaptive trigger support on PS5 controllers. You can literally feel time itself push back when you're up against an obstacle. It's really cool, and I don't know why more games aren't implementing adaptive trigger support. Why? Tell me. Now. Here we have a new premium FPS game on the App Store, Gunfire Reborn. It's not often we get games of this caliber and genre anymore on mobile, so it's very important to talk about it. It's optimized very well here as well, running at native resolution by default, with high graphics enabled for 60 FPS. It's definitely not a demanding game, but it's still quite impressive performance from an independent developer. Our last game to look at is The Witness. While this game has lower graphics and only 30 FPS enabled on iPhone and iPad, which is a little disappointing, on this M2 iPad Pro it's actually running at native resolution, which, in my opinion, is quite impressive. The incredibly vivid and distinct cel-shaded graphics sure stand out here at such a high resolution. What do you think of the gaming performance offered by the new M2 iPad Pro? Are you impressed or disappointed? In my opinion, it's pretty freaking powerful, but there are not many games to take advantage of the power right now, even on the M1 iPad Pro, or any iPad Pro, or any new iPhone and iPad, really, when you think about it. Anyway, I hope more developers can see the potential here. I'd love to see more big games, maybe like, I don't know, Disco Elysium? Oh, that'd be awesome. The Witcher 3? Oh my god, I wouldn't be able to sleep. Dark Souls Remastered? I think I would do a backflip. Tomb Raider 2013? I think I would squeal. Dying Light? I think I would faint. Or Skyrim? I think I would explode. Imagine those games on M1 or M2 equipped iPads in the future. That would be awesome. Anyway, leave a like if you found this video useful, and stay tuned for my video testing 15 games on the new 2022 iPad 10th Gen. My name is Stewie, and thanks for watching.